Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh and a very good evening. Welcome to Live Real Talk. My name is Faisal, Kassim, and tonight we are talking about, once again, mass voter registration exercise by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. That is the mass voter registration exercise that kicked off on the 4th of October, estimated to end the 4th of November. And we have here Mr. Mike, who is the registration officer in the Embakasi South Constituency. But before we get into that, remember this is a topic, a spill from last week where we were discussing about the same topic. And one of the questions I posed to Faisal, who's an aspiring member of parliament from Vito constituency, is might it be voter apathy? Might it be caused by the falling short of leaders, that is, who are elected and are holding these offices? Might it be they have fallen short of their responsibilities and they are not protecting, or rather overseeing, providing the oversight that is needed to the authorities that are needed to look over or to look after Kenyans because of the matters and forced disappearances and extrajudicial killings, particularly in the Muslim community? Following up is a story of Professor Hassan Nandwa, who is an advocate. Professor Hassan Nandwa was following up on a case of a terror suspect that was released 2 days ago. He was released by the authorities from the Committee Maximum Prison after serving his term. Thereafter, when they were leaving the prisons, the Committee Maximum Prisons, coming back home together with his cousin, the victim's name is Elgiva Buire Oliacha, aka Sef, who was served a term on release on terror charges, and they were leaving together with his cousin, coming back home. And along the way, they were abducted, not to be seen until today. So Elgiva Buire Oliacha was Professor Hassan Nandwa's client, and Professor Hassan Nandwa, being an advocate, went ahead and reported the case, the matter, to the courts, to the police station, I beg your pardon. And after that,
uchafu hautolewi na uchafu. Uchafu unatolewa na maji. Sisi tuko katika njia ambayo kwamba ni nchi ambayo kwamba ina sheria na sheria hufuatwa. Mambo ya kutumia ujambazi ni kutufanyia sisi ujambazi. Ni silo jambo ambalo kwamba linakubalika. Mturudishie ndugu yetu Hassan arudi, Prof arudi.
And today we have witnessed this exceptional individual being treated as if he is not a Kenyan, as if he has no rights. This has gone far too long. We can't continue as a country in this manner. It is intolerable, it is unacceptable. Everyone in this country is governed by the law. Sote tunafahamu hiyo. Na sheria lazima ifuatwe whenever, particularly the police, are concerned. These are the same individuals who have sworn to abide by the law, to protect lives. Yet, they are the ones who are breaking the same law that they are meant to enforce.
Our request is if there's any iota of any issue or crime purported to have been committed, let him be taken to a court of law. Let him answer whatever charges that are there. The due process to be followed.
Sisi kama viongozi wa Kiislamu tunasema Profesa Hassan Nandwa yuko wapi? Familia yake na sisi wenzake pia tuna wasiwasi yuko wapi? Na tunajua kuna watu wengi ambao hupotea hivyo na yanayotokea mwisho si mazuri. Hii ni nchi ambayo inatawaliwa na sheria. Tungependa kama ana makosa utaratibu wa sheria upatikane, lakini mtu kupotea hivyo hivyo ni kinyume cha katiba ya nchi na ni kinyume cha sheria.
Tunamtaka arudishwe akiwa hai salama, kwa sababu hii Kenya ni nchi huru, iko na sheria. Yeye ndo kila kitu yetu. Bila yeye hatujui sisi tutaelekea vipi.
Thanks so much, Suleiman Nachasoftumbo, for that. Truly a sad set of affairs. We saw the family, friends and colleagues in the profession, the likes of Ali Mahmoud and Sheikh Ibrahim Lithome, coming out there and saying strongly that we want Professor Hassan Nandwa back, wherever he is, you have any information about him, you've seen him anywhere, please just report to the family. Executive Director of Haki Africa, that is Mr. Hussein Khalid, is leading the whole process. So you can always reach out to them. That is Haki Africa. You can find them on social media. And let's bring Professor Hassan Nandwa back home. Back to our topic tonight. We are talking about IEBC mass voter registration exercise that started on the 4th of October 2021, of course, in preparation to the next general election scheduled for 2022, August the 2nd, Tuesday. 9 months, 8 or 9 months or so to the general election. And joining me tonight in studio is an IEBC official, that is the registration officer, Bona Mike. Good evening and thank you so much for joining us tonight.
No, good evening and thank you for having me tonight.
Great. Bona Mike, we are having 760,000 registered voters as opposed to, of course, in the recent campaign, in the ongoing campaign of the IEBC mass voter registration exercise, 4.5 million was the target. That is downscaling from 6 million target from the onset. But again, so far, 760,000, translating to 16.7%. Right? And of course, this is something that has been raised before in other media houses. The commissioners have come out and spoken about this. So, like, before we go any further, in your own opinion, being a registration officer in the constituency, what is wrong where?
Thank you for that question, Faisal. Now, when it comes to matters of registration, one, it's not mandatory, but we encourage people to come out in their numbers to register. Of course, we know that there has been a culture, and it has been spoken to by our commissioners, that Kenyans sometimes will like to come in on the last week, and I do believe those numbers have improved drastically in the last few days.
Yeah.
Probably, if we are steadily, we could say maybe they've hit the 1 million mark as of today. Yes, we're still short of the figure, but the other thing that I would like to, one, again, reassure is, once we move from the enhanced, we are not conducting mass voter registration. We are conducting what is called enhanced.
Enhanced.
Continuous voter registration.
Okay.
Yeah, and just to give a background is that continuous voter registration is anchored in law. So we are always registering people in the 290 constituency offices, all the way from 2017, and we've been moving through.
Great. But Mike, of course, taking from your answer that this is just but an enhanced voter registration and something that has been happening. We are cognizant of the fact that this is not the first time we are experiencing voter apathy. This was also experienced in 2017. Of course, there was a good number of voter registration in 2012, and some analysts actually attributed to the introduction of BVR kits that happened the first time in the
Even went further. The commission not only, we didn't now do what we call voter education, we actually did voter mobilization. We engaged, every ward has 2 voter mobilizers who actually go out and speak to the youth and all those people who have not registered. And as I would say is that maybe one of the things is people still think they will collect their IDs and probably come out to us and register, because we are still, it's not being closed like 2017. Once on 2nd, we will be closing on 2nd of November. That is exactly day 30.
Okay.
Yeah, from
2nd
October
or 3rd?
No, 2nd.
Should be 3rd, because you started on 4th.
We started on 4th. 4th was the active day.
Okay.
Goes all the way to November 2nd,
Okay.
day 30.
So
at the end
oh,
of,
yeah, 21 days. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
great.
So,
yeah. You have
so
21 days in October.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So by the time we close, in this aspect is that these people probably still believe they will have an opportunity to come to our offices in the 290 constituencies. The only thing that will happen this time around is that if you live far away from the office, you'll have to make your way there.
Great. That
Yes.
we're going to talk about that. But I picked interest in one thing that you mentioned:
Yes.
2 voter mobilizers in every ward or every
Yes.
constituency.
Yeah, 2 in every ward.
In every ward.
Yeah. So if a constituency has like 5 wards, then you have 10.
10. Are they
voter mobilizers.
sufficient?
For the budget that we have is where you have the vast constituencies or counties. There have been an additional 128 kits that have been issued out to support already the 3 per ward that have been given.
Okay.
And also to assist, these kits are moving, and we have a schedule whereby both the RO and that's the RO in this case being the registration officer, because right now we are going through the registration process. There's a kit movement schedule that is ideally shared with the population, and of course put in places that are conspicuous. So these kits move, they're not static, so maybe they could be in one registration for maybe about 3 days or 1 day, or even serve 2 places in 1 day. All they need to do is ensure that they've also put in a notice, and these BVR kit movement schedules are shared. All right, so for us it's a question of, as the mobilizers go, they're there also to support the people and advise them where to find the kit. Because you see, sometimes if the mobilizer is moving and people asking, your kit today was here, where did it go to? So they would be able to share with them and maybe capture them, or if it's too far, then they'll probably advise them on the next time they will be coming round to the area.
In the event that you're given more resources, or more resources are allocated, would we have different numbers maybe? Maybe more numbers in this case?
Probably the commission
hypothetically speaking.
The commission probably would make a decision depending on the resources allocated to increase the number of kits, all right? Because the unit cost here is usually driven by the kit, because the kit is resourced with X number of people working with it and all that. So I do believe there would be maybe more kits, so meaning more outreach. Yes.
Great. But Mike, thank you so much for that. And let's now delve deeper and look at patterns in terms of voter turnout. Of course, we've looked at 2017. I was trying to trace the figures, but couldn't get it. But still, as I mentioned earlier, 2017 we had some level of voter apathy as well in terms of voter registration. And of course, in 2016 rather, I beg your pardon. And that necessitated, a second mass voter registration exercise again. In 2017. So in this case, now that you have only 16.7%, right, in this voter registration process, are we expecting, or should we expect, or should Kenyans by any chance expect the second voter registration process maybe?
What I would say, and thank you for that question, is that the commission would ideally make that decision, but as it stands today, registration, enhanced continuous voter registration, ECVR, will be ending on November 2nd. So I'm encouraging people to take this opportunity because the kits are near you to the best that we could. And now once this is done, it doesn't mean that you cannot get registered or get any other service from our offices. We shall still be giving the same service under now what is the normal continuous voter registration in our offices. So as at November 2nd, not unless advised differently by the commission, we will be closing the ECVR.
Yes. Great. But maybe an area of hope Kenyans maybe might be thinking from what happened in 2016, 2017, maybe we should expect something maybe again this time?
No, I would not want to bank on that. I would tell them to come out now so that they show the impetus that we need to keep this ball rolling, because we are in what you'd call an electioneering period, and it's important for them to come out in their large numbers and register. Because I'll tell you this, Faisal, the only way you get to participate in the electoral process is by, one, registering as a voter. And you've been given that right. It's a right that is anchored in the Constitution. And it is from there where you will either, one, be able to offer yourself as a candidate for any position, or also support a candidate of your choice. All right? So it's important that we get involved. And I'm urging the young people, the youth, anybody who's turned 18 and has applied for their ID to either collect it, or once they've collected it, to just visit our people. It's a very easy process.
Interesting that you've mentioned that. Before we get into the process and the procedures of voter registration, you've mentioned that only with the card, then you're equipped enough to either vie for any seat that you want or choose the leader of your choice. And I'll ask you the same question I asked my panelist last week here in studio, is in the regards to the whole issue of deep state and the control they have, or rather the power they have to influence quote unquote, to influence elections up to the polling stations. This is in reference to Governor Kimeme's remarks on a national television, saying that the deep state can influence election up to the polling station. You being a registration officer right now, as the Gazette notice states,
yes,
during the electioneering period, you're going to be a returning officer.
Yes, I will be.
So you get calls from the deep state maybe to threaten you and say like you need to skew these results in a particular direction or anything?
I'll actually answer you in this way. One, I might not have had those sentiments that were said by the honorable member, governor, but I'll say this. One, we are an independent institution, and that's why actually IEBC stands for Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Drilling down further, I will come down, now that we've gone a bit into the voting process. Polling is done at the polling station, and it's a highly regulated process. From how you access the polling station, to how you are issued with the ballot papers, all right? How you're identified, how you're issued with the ballot papers, access by observers, agents, and all these people, how you cast your vote, how you're not even supposed to walk out. It is spelled out in the regulations. How you're not even supposed to walk out with any material, that includes the ballot paper, out of the polling station. Any deviation from those regulations automatically now puts you towards the election offenses, and it has severe sanctions. Actually, it has very heavy penalties, both for the members of staff of the commission, as well as the voters. Actually, it has very... Yes.
So you explain about that, that's the voter process?
Yes, that's a voting process. Yes. So everything, and even the counting, it's done in the open within the polling station. So it would be, I would say, everything is above board. All right? So I wouldn't know, but we are in, I wouldn't say I know about the sentiments he had, but what I know for a fact is that all this is done in the open.
So this deep state notion is something?
To the best of my knowledge.
Nothing of that sort?
Yes, because like I've explained.
Because Kenyans, and particularly the youth, would be, why should we waste our time? And someone of such caliber has come out and states very confidently that voter process is being influenced by some people in some quarters. So whether you vote or not, then some of these decisions have already been made by some people, certain place.
No, that decision will be made on that day when you're you register as a voter, all right? Because remember now, even majority of them, if we may pick from how you've explained it, then they are not already registered, right? So they're speaking from the outside looking in.
Outside looking in.
Yes. So it would be, I would encourage them to register, so that now, one, they get to understand how our processes work. Because remember, they've not been registered, so they don't even know how our processes work. So I would encourage them, one, to go through the registration process and just see how robust and secure it is. All right? And it's a very easy process. And then thereafter, they will be afforded the opportunity to choose a candidate of their choice and even observe how the counting is done. All right?
Okay.
And also get to see how the entire process from A to Z is done, and they will realize that sometimes some things are just folklore, if I may say so.
And somebody who is not satisfied with the results?
Yes. There's still the mechanism and the rules still protect those who are not satisfied with the results, and they are able to go to an elections court and petition those results. And we've seen, I mean, we've all been here, we've seen petitions go through either for one reason or the other, okay? So at the end of the day, we've also won petitions as IEBC. You need to speak to that. Sometimes we are taken to court and we win, all right? So yes, it is still part of the process. It's still part of the electioneering process. What has started now with registration, going all the way till a winner is announced and someone feels aggrieved, they're able to go through the justice system, and they will petition, and the truth the justice system will give a decision on the same. So there are still ways to manage it.
Great. I want us to go on a very short break because I'm told that we need to pay your bills, Kidogo. But again, when we come back, now that you've given us the affirmation that this process is credible, reliable, efficient, and transparent, then I think Kenya should go out there and register as voters.
I encourage them.
Right?
Yes.
Exactly. So in the process of doing that, then let's look at dynamics and how to go about it. So for the event of a new voter, what's the process? Because there is this idea somewhere that the process might be intimidating, and that's why Kenyans are actually reluctant on going about that business. So let's talk about that, how the voter registration process is all about. You being a registration officer, I want us to talk about scenarios where someone might have registered and forgotten that they registered or forgotten their details. How do they go about it?
All right.
And last but not least, let's talk about voter transfers, because it's that season, you know, in where voters are being transferred, of course, courtesy of interests, you know, some interest by some interest driven individually, others of course guided by the politicians or the aspirants in this case. So let's talk about that once we come back from the break. My name is Faisal Kassim. Keep it live, Real Talk. Please do not touch that dial, because we are coming back in a few.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa Allah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ndugu wa Islam, taasisi hii mnayoiona ni Tanzil Education Center iliyoko maeneo ya Jomvu ndani ya mji wa Mombasa. Inalenga taasisi hii kuwahifadhisha wanafunzi Al-Qur'anul Karim pamoja na kuwafundisha masomo yao ya dini na dunia. Alhamdulillah, ujenzi wa msikiti ndani ya taasisi hii umekamilika na ujenzi wa bweni la wanafunzi pia umekamilika, alhamdulillah. Lakini maal asaf shadid, ujenzi umesimama katika hizi madrasa classes. Tutarajia insha Allah taala ujenzi ukikamilika, zaidi ya wanafunzi 300 wataweza kufaidika na masomo yao ya dini na dunia ndani ya markazi hii. Ndugu wa Islam,
wengi huwekeza katika mabiashara, na wengine wakawekeza katika majumba, na wengine wakawekeza katika magari. Lakini ndugu yangu Muislamu, uwekezaji ulio bora ambao una manufaa hapa duniani na kesho akhera ni uwekezaji wa sadaqa jaria. Kwa nini? Kwa sababu mwanadamu anapokuwa anakwenda mbele za haki atatamani uwekezaji huu na kusema, laula akhartani ila ajalin qaribin fa asaddaqa wa akum minas salihin. Ewe Allah, lau utanipa muda mchache kidogo ili niweze kutoa sadaqa, na mimi niwe katika waja wema. Ndugu yangu Muislam, tushirikiane katika kukamilisha ujenzi wa madrasa hii ili tuwe ni wale ambao wamewekeza katika uwekezaji bora, uwekezaji ambao manufaa yake ni duniani na akhira. Akhi fillah, jenga akhira yako zaidi ya vile unavyoijenga dunia yako.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation. Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. This is the live Real Talk. And we're here with Bwana Mike, who is the registration officer at the Embakasi South, right? Embakasi South constituency. And we are talking about the whole issue, circumnavigating around voter registration, voter apathy, and the enhanced voter registration process. Continuous. No, but this process is enhanced. Correct?
Yes, we've
because
enhanced.
We've gone out, yeah.
Yes, we've gone out, we've come to the ward.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And then after that, you're going to stick to like the normal registration,
yes.
Continuous,
Yes.
up to?
That should run probably up till sometime in January.
Great.
Yeah.
Sasa. Karibu sana. And tulikuwa tunaongea now about matters procedure for a new voter. So what happens for a new voter? Because there are claims that this whole process might be a bit intimidating. So what happens in the whole aspect of voter registration? Asante sana Obura. Yeah.
Now, maybe I could take you through
Yes, please,
the flow. Now, a new voter will visit us where we have our kits stationed. And of course, once you get there, one of the things that we shall do is check you on the KIMS. KIMS is the gadget. Thank you very much. Is the Kenya Integrated Election Management System, so that I don't use too many acronyms. It's a small gadget that was introduced in 2017. We register you with the BVR, that's a biometric voter registration kit. But when we are checking for your details, we check them using the KIMS. It's more robust. Now, what happens is that once you visit, the clerks there will welcome you, and then of course now ask for your ID, because you must have your national ID, original, or a valid passport. Okay? So once you come in, we welcome you, then we ask for the document, you present it, we check, we request that you place your finger on the KIMS just to run the biometrics. Then if you're a registered voter, of course your details will pop up and you'll be advised where you're supposed to be voting from. All right? If you're not, then of course your details will not appear. Then now we proceed to register you. So the first thing you will do is fill in Form A. That is the first form you come into contact with when you visit us. It's called the Form A. It basically captures your details. And you sign on the form. And then we proceed to capture your biometrics, which is the facial and the fingers, and of course your alphanumeric data, which is basically your names as they appear on the ID and your ID number. All right? So once we capture all these details, which is not a very lengthy process, we issue you with an acknowledgement slip. Basically on that slip, it will capture where you're supposed to vote and all that. It's just basically an acknowledgement that we've enrolled you and you'll be put into the register.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
It also guides you sometimes if you had forgotten where you are supposed to go and vote, it will tell you where you're supposed to go and vote. But you don't use it on the day of elections.
The slip, the
acknowledgement slip, you don't use it. The
Yeah.
only thing you use on that day is you appear before us with your national ID or valid passport. The document that you use to register as a voter is what you come to us with on the day of election.
Okay.
And we just check your biometrics and you proceed.
Okay, great.
Okay?
So
Yeah.
that aside, so basically you've explained the voter registration process.
Yes.
Is as simple as you walk in with
Yes.
either the ID or the passport.
Yes.
You take in the prints, you
Yes.
register into the BVR kits.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then after that, you're issued with a slip.
Yes.
That is it.
That is it. It's a
Nothing
very,
else.
nothing else.
Okay.
And you filled in the Form A as well.
In the event that, for example, let's say today I'm a registered voter in a
Yes.
particular constituency and I
Yes.
registered through my ID or
Yes.
my passport.
Right.
And then I go to Embakasi South
Yes.
constituency with, so there where I am registered, I registered using my passport.
Yes.
And then I come to Embakasi South with my ID wanting
Yes.
to register as a
Yes.
voter. What happens then?
Now, that is why, again, we go back to the first gadget that I mentioned, the KIMS kit. So the clerks will again welcome you, but like I said, the first process is we first check so that we avoid an instance where you are double registered because it's actually an offense.
Yeah.
All right? And you'll be suspended from the register. So register of voters. So what happens is that they will check so that we don't have instances where a voter, for one reason or the other, assumed maybe they were registered in 2010 and they're no longer in the register because BVR registration took place in 2012, but there are people probably registered in 2012 but don't remember that instance, so they just think they registered way back before that time.
Yeah.
So that's why we first check you. The first port of call is for you to be checked in the KIMS kit. So if once we check your details there and you place your fingerprint, it will pop up all your alphanumeric data.
That can only be done at the centers.
Yes, and even in the offices. All right. Yeah. So when you go to the registration centers where our clerks are, yes, that will be done. It's the first step so that we avoid instances where people are double registered.
Is there a way I can find out about that online maybe? If you can just check out maybe from your portal, maybe a shortcode maybe?
To the best of my knowledge, the portal hasn't been opened, but as we move closer to the elections, I know it usually comes up.
Okay.
And then you're able now to do the
check.
inspection from there, yes.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
great. So, but that can be done whether someone
Yes.
was registered, whatever.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So, about voter transfer process,
Yes.
how do we go about it? Because again, the whole issue of proving residence in the area for like 6 weeks, 6 months. Around.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that question. Now, of course, voter transfers will occur for various reasons. And one of the reasons will be either you moved to an area or you now probably, you live there, you were transferred into an area. So what happens is that the law was amended in 2017 and the new regulation 13C came into effect, whereby the voter who wishes to transfer must provide some form of proof of residency for at least 6 months before they do the transfer to that constituency. So now that is where, of course, for us to also satisfy ourselves and not fall foul of the law, we will request for certain documents, maybe a letter from the area chief, maybe the area chief knows you, we will request maybe for a utility bill, you know, something to show that you have
been
some,
in the area.
Yes, you've been in the area, you have some form of residency within the area. It's a law that is there, so we can't walk around it. So the best thing is for those who wish to transfer, and genuinely so, will actually have those documents ready with them, you know, because at the end of the day, this is the law of the land, and you are guided by law. So the regulation sits, you want to move from area A to B, then That is the regulation as it is now. If maybe one day it is vacated, maybe we will adopt some other mechanism. Yes.
So you just need to prove that you've been in the area.
Yes, you just need to have some form of proof. And you see sometimes this proof, because remember you'll come and fill in a form. It's not just enough you walk up to my office and tell me I wish to transfer. And something I also wish to...
I, for one, I want to transfer.
You want to transfer?
I want to transfer.
So now you will go to the constituency office.
Okay. Where
not
I want
to the
transfer
clerks.
to.
Yes, not to the clerks in the wards.
Okay.
To the constituency office.
Okay.
Of the constituency you wish to transfer to, and then present yourself a copy with your original and a copy of the ID. You will fill a Form C, which is basically the form that gives directions of what you want to do, and then advise us which polling station you wish to be transferred to. Then you will, of course, at the end of the day, affix your fingerprint and also attach a copy of your ID and attach a copy of now that proof that we've requested for.
Great. So that's the only thing that
that's the only thing, yes.
How long does the process take?
I can tell you first, it's determined by how fast you can fill in a form. And it's a pretty straightforward form because it's just asking you, you wish to be transferred, which was your previous station, which station do you wish to go to, you understand?
Yeah.
And all these stations are actually pinned outside the offices.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, Bona Mike, umesema it's as simple as going in, walking into the office, presenting myself, expressing my interest of wanting to transfer, and that's it.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Okay, great. Bona Michael Mwose, because you're running out of time, looking at seconds before we wrap it up, what would be your parting shot tonight?
My parting shot tonight would be Kenyans, kindly come out and register as voters and participate in this electoral process, and we will be ready to serve you. Thank you very much.
Wow, great. Short, precise, straight to the point. That is Michael Mwose, right? I hope I got that correct.
You did.
Yes. Asante sana. Yes, Bwana Michael Mwose, right here in studio, talking to you out there about being a registered voter in this country. It is easy to say that I'm not going to wake up and waste my time to vote because at the end of the day, for what purpose? What's the need? But that person who was voted and you who decided not to take the initiative and register as a voter and participate in a democratic right to vote, at the end of the day, irrespective of the leader who will be at the helm, if the prices of commodities such as bread hike to the current around 50, 60 to 70, 80, then all of us are going to buy bread at the same price. If all prices are going to be hiked, then those who did not vote will not be excluded. That you did not vote for me, so you're not going to. No, we're all going to suffer. And if it's about enjoying, then we're all going to enjoy equally. So take part in this process. Do your part. Even in Islam, the Prophet says you tie your camel and then depend on Allah. So how do you tie your camel? Sheikh Lithome always says, we are not Kenyans by accident. There is a reason as to why we are Kenyans, and there is a reason as to why you're alive, and there is a reason as to why you are watching this right now, and I'm telling you this information right now. Allah chose you. Imagine how many people did not listen to me. How many people did not get this message? Quite a number, right? But you were chosen. So, come on. Let's register as voters. Let's go out there and take part in our democratic right as Kenyans, as a people. And let us put responsible people who will take care of our interests, who will ask the questions like the ones we're asking right now. Where is Professor Hassan Nandwa? That is the question we're asking. I wish we had people who would summon the CS of security and the IG and anybody who is involved in the security apparatus of this country on the floor of parliament and ask these questions. Do you know those people in your midst? Then let's register as voters and take them to parliament and put them in those spaces where we can sleep and feel secured at the end of the day. My name is Faisal, Kassim, and this has been the Live Real Talk. See you next week, same place, same time, as we're talking about another topic that you, yes, you back there, want to listen to. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.